Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, for watching this video. My name is Matari Kartika Purushapara, and now I would like to do my assignment about for subject workshop on interpreting. And the assignment is individual assignment about interpret the following speech from English to Indonesians. You can use your note-taking technique to interpret. Alright, the video is Does Political Dialogue Help to Reduce Violence in Complex Situation by Flora Virgin in TED Talks. I think without any further ado, let's start the interpreting session. The first, I will move the camera. Alright.
I am the assistant director at an organization that is active in mediation in armed conflicts.
Saya adalah asisten direktur di organisasi yang aktif di mediasi dan konflik.
What that means, part of what that means, is that I talk to people who kill, bomb, fight, sometimes torture.
Apa artinya? Itu berarti aku terkadang berbicara pada orang yang dibunuh, dibom, atau bahkan disiksa.
And I try to persuade them to give up that violence. Sometimes that works, but you only have to look at the news to know that large parts of our world are on fire.
Terkadang itu berhasil, tapi kita tetap mendapati berita bahwa sebagian besar dari dunia kita berada di dalam peperangan.
Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Mexico, Northern Ireland, the list goes on. The reality is that conflict often rages on, despite our best efforts to stop it.
Suriah, Yaman, Irak, Meksiko, Northern Ireland selalu melakukan konflik. Meskipun kita telah melakukan usaha yang besar untuk menghentikan semua konflik itu.
In addition to suffering from a low success rate, my job is also not always safe.
Tentu saja dengan tambahan bahwa ini tidak selalu berhasil, tugasku terkategorikan tidak terlalu aman.
Working on conflicts inevitably means working in conflict zones, which in turn means difficult, dangerous, extreme situations.
Bekerja di dalam konflik tak terelakkan berarti bekerja di dalam konflik yang sangat berbahaya dan terkadang
As a human being, as a woman, and more recently as a mother, I find that very difficult. But it's a part of my job.
dan terkadang memposisikan diri di dalam sesuatu yang ekstrim sebagai seorang manusia, sebagai seorang wanita, tetapi itu semua adalah bagian dari tugasku.
To give you an example, some years ago, I traveled to the Democratic Republic of Congo, as I do quite often, to talk to the leadership of a rebel group. The journey was very long. We had to go to a remote part of a jungle. And the meeting was to take place in a UN camp, which is relatively safe. But when we got there, the leadership said, look, we still want to meet you, but we no longer want to meet you in the camp because there had been a lot of fighting that day and they didn't want to get stuck.
Seperti yang telah aku lakukan beberapa tahun yang lalu, aku pergi ke Republik Kongo untuk melakukan mediasi di sana. Skip.
Which, in the context, fair enough, but for me, that meant I had to make a decision. Do I leave the relative safety of this camp to go with people who I knew had done awful things, to a little mud hut in a little village with no protection, in a country that is rife with violence and a cruel violence at that.
Aku hidup di sana di negara yang penuh dengan kekerasan yang sangat sadis. Terkadang aku memikirkan bagaimana caranya apakah besok masih hidup atau aku dapat keluar dari sini dengan aman.
So it was difficult. In the end, we decided to go, and I'm glad we did. I'm standing here today, so I was fine. But the reality is that I could have gotten hurt.
Jadi kita memutuskan bahwa itu memang sulit, namun pada akhirnya kita dapat pergi dari sana. Walaupun aslinya aku pernah disakiti di sana.
So in a nutshell, my job is not always successful, often not successful, and not always safe. So you might reasonably ask, why do it?
Jadi tugasku secara singkat tidak selalu berhasil dan tidak selalu dapat hasil yang baik. Tapi kenapa aku selalu melakukan tugas itu jika Anda bertanya?
Aside from being very interesting, the real reason why I do what I do is quite simply, if it works, it's utterly amazing.
Skip. Tujuan utama mengapa aku melakukan tugasku karena aku anggap itu sesuatu yang menakjubkan jika itu berhasil.
We have, for example, successfully negotiated the end of an armed group, which included the witnessing of the destruction of their weapons. Those weapons that I saw destroyed are never going to kill anybody again. It's that simple. And that's why I do it.
Jadi untuk bagian yang kecil, kita telah melihat senjata pemusnah yang mana telah dihancurkan dan kita merasa bersyukur karena itu tidak pernah memakan korban sama sekali.
One of the questions that I get asked the most about my job is, what's it like to talk to these people? What's it like to talk to people who commit violence, who do very extreme things, who kill other human beings? The answer to that question, I think, can be a little bit disappointing for the people who ask me that, because my answer is very simple. One of the questions that I get asked the most about my job is, what's it like to talk to these people? What's it like to talk to people who commit violence, who do very extreme things, who kill other human beings?
Salah satu pertanyaan yang sering sekali dilontarkan oleh orang-orang terhadap aku dalam melakukan pekerjaanku adalah bagaimana rasanya berbicara dengan orang yang melakukan dan berkomitmen untuk melakukan kekerasan, membunuh, dan sebagainya.
The answer to that question, I think, can be a little bit disappointing for the people who ask me that, because my answer is very simple.
Jawaban dari pertanyaan tersebut menurutku cukup mengecewakan bagi orang-orang yang menanyakan pertanyaan tersebut kepadaku. Namun jawabanku cukup simpel.
But I wanted to share it with you today because it is, in fact, the most significant thing that I've learned thus far from my job.
Namun sebelum itu aku ingin meyakinkan kalian bahwa ini semua adalah efek yang signifikan dari apa yang telah aku alami, pengalaman selama menjalankan tugasku.
It might make you look a little bit differently at the person sitting next to you right now, and that's okay. But I hope it'll make you look a little bit differently at yourself because I think that's important.
Ini mungkin membuat sedikit berbeda ketika kalian melihat orang yang duduk di sebelah kalian, tapi mungkin saya rasa ini akan cukup berbeda, akan cukup membuat kalian terlihat berbeda.
And that's kind of the point of my talk today.
Dan itulah adalah poin dalam pembicaraan saya pada hari ini.
So, to answer that question, what's it like to talk to these people who commit violence? It's really normal because they are really normal. They're people like you and I. They have opinions. They feel strongly about some things, not others. They have feelings. There are people that they care about.
Jadi jawabannya adalah sangat normal karena mereka seperti orang normal pada umumnya. Mereka seperti kau dan saya, mereka juga memiliki perasaan, mereka memiliki orang yang mereka cintai untuk dilindungi.
Some of them are really funny. Others are totally not. Some of them talk a lot. And others are really quiet.
Beberapa dari mereka benar-benar menyenangkan, humoris, dan beberapa skip. Lalu beberapa dari mereka banyak yang suka berbicara dan cerewet, dan beberapa juga ada yang tidak suka berbicara.
Some of them have family, children, a partner, and others don't.
Beberapa dari mereka punya keluarga, anak, dan pasangan, dan beberapa tidak.
In a nutshell, they are people like us, like you and I. But they chose to do different things. They kill people, and I'm going to assume most of us here today don't.
Pada dasarnya mereka orang yang normal pada umumnya. Mereka seperti kau dan saya. Namun mereka memilih untuk melakukan hal tersebut dan tidak seperti kita orang yang duduk pada hari ini yang saya asumsikan bahwa tidak melakukannya.
That option of violence also was more readily available to them because they were in a situation that was more characterized by violence. And let's face it, that matters. After all, if there was no conflict, you wouldn't have that many reasons to pick up arms. If nobody was being oppressed, you didn't really have anybody to stand up to.
Mereka hidup di tempat yang memang dibesarkan dengan kekerasan. Maka dari itu kekerasan sangat menjadi sesuatu yang berharga untuk mereka. Bagi mereka, jika mereka hidup normal seperti kita pada umumnya, tidak ada konflik dan peperangan, maka tidak ada senjata yang perlu diangkat. Skip.
If there was no enemy, you don't really have a side to join. And the truth is that most of us normal people, if we find ourselves in a situation where violence is normal every day, institutionalized, promoted, even rewarded, most of us participate.
Jika tidak ada konflik atau bahkan permusuhan, maka tidak ada yang perlu untuk bergabung terhadap suatu sisi. Pada faktanya, kita, orang-orang normal, juga akan melakukan hal ini jika kita berada di dalam kondisi yang sama dengan mereka. Jika kekerasan telah dipromosikan, lalu bahkan diberikan hadiah, mungkin kita akan melakukan hal yang sama.
By that I mean most of us commit violence, hurt other people, facilitate violence.
Jadi maksudku adalah banyak dari kita yang akan melakukan kekerasan dengan cara menyakiti. Ya, itu masih termasuk dalam kekerasan.
We are all capable of that.
Kita
It's
semua
not
mampu untuk
a very
melakukannya.
pleasant thing to think about. that we're all capable of violence, but it's important for two reasons.
Ini benar-benar sesuatu yang tidak menyenangkan untuk dipikirkan bahwa kita dapat melakukan hal tersebut, namun terdapat dua alasan yang penting untuk memikirkan hal ini.
The first is very important in my job. Namely, people are not what they do. They kill somebody. They're not a killer. And what that means is they can choose not to kill. And what that in turn means is there is light at the end of the tunnel that is conflict. And that means my job has points, which is pretty fundamental. The other reason why it's really important to realize the potential for violence in all of us is more important, I think, and more important to my groups here today. Namely that, as Carl Jung, Dr. Phil, or any AA meeting really will tell you, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. And if we would be able to change this just a little bit, that would be such an improvement from where we are today.
Skip.
To give you one example of a very human interaction that I had in the context of my work, which is very characterized by violence. At some point, I was working with a leader of an armed group, had been working with him for a while, and one of our meetings involved the collection of weapons in his living room, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best location for a number of reasons, but that's what happened.
Sebagai salah satu contohnya, kita pernah bekerja sama dengan salah satu kepala pemberontak di suatu daerah. Dia telah menyimpan banyak sekali senjata di ruang keluarganya dia. Di ruangan tersebut, seperti yang kita pikirkan, kenapa orang harus menyimpan di sana, terdapat berbagai alasan bagi dirinya.
It was a normal living room. It had some furniture. It had some toys because he shared it with his wife and his child, and some religious paraphernalia, and a whole bunch of weapons spread out on the floor.
Karena itu pada dasarnya adalah ruangan keluarga yang sangat normal, banyak mainan anak-anak, banyak furnitur-furnitur yang terletak di situ. Namun memang di lantai mereka terdapat banyak senjata yang digelar.
Halfway through that meeting, his wife comes home with their child in tow. She was pissed off. I presume he told her, either didn't tell her or told her, the weapons would be gone by the time she got home. But they weren't. And so she wasn't happy. And that totally derailed our meeting. It was no longer about what we were doing, but it was about him trying to say, he was sorry and trying to make up to his wife.
Jadi ketika kita mengadakan pertemuan di rumahnya, istrinya datang dengan membawa seorang anak mereka, dan ketika istrinya melihat senjata yang digelar di lantai-lantai tersebut, istrinya merasa tidak senang dan marah. Lalu sang suami juga berusaha membujuk seperti orang pada umumnya ketika melihat istrinya merajut. Awalnya aku mengira bahwa mungkin istrinya tidak diberitahu bahwa akan ada pertemuan antara dirinya dengan pihak kita. Namun ternyata itulah yang terjadi di sana.
As a person who's married and who's been in relationships, as I'm sure a lot of us have been, that's a very recognizable dynamic. If you violate the boundaries of your relationship, the other person's going to be angry. And if you care about them, you're going to care about that and try to fix it.
Sebagai seseorang yang telah menikah, sebagai seseorang yang memiliki hubungan, itu akan sangat normal ketika seseorang di antara pemegang hubungan ini melakukan suatu pelanggaran, mereka akan marah dan orang yang melanggar tersebut akan melakukan permintaan maaf dan berusaha memperbaiki.
So, yeah, they're people like us.
Jadi mereka orang
To give you an
seperti kita.
example of some historical examples of how and when we all participated in violence, to make it a little bit more real, and there are numerous ones, so I'm just picking a few. You have, for example, the Dirty War in Argentina, where countless people were disappeared.
Untuk memberikan Anda beberapa gambaran, kita sebagai orang-orang umum juga pernah terlibat terhadap hal-hal seperti ini. Sebagai contoh, ketika ada perang kotor di Argentina,
Normal people carried out those disappearances. Normal pilots flying planes, for example, or people telling on other people where they were.
orang-orang normal asli.
Thinking of the torture regime in Algeria in the War of Independence, where soldiers, true enough, maybe not ordinary people off the street, but normal soldiers who normally are not tasked to torture other people, all participated in doing some very horrible things to other human beings.
Sebagai contoh lain, di Algeria, di Afrika sana, banyak tentara kemerdekaan yang tidak melakukan hal-hal yang mengerikan, namun malah di sisi lain orang-orang normal yang melakukan hal-hal tersebut.
And I'm thinking of right here, because you get the feeling that we always kind of think about this kind of violence as elsewhere. But during World War II, right here, a large number of Jews, Roma, disabled people were deported and killed with the help of ordinary citizens.
Dan inilah mengapa saya harus membawa hal ini ke dalam pembicaraan kali ini. Pada saat Perang Dunia II, banyak sekali orang-orang normal, orang-orang sipil seperti biasanya, yang ikut membantu dalam penyiksaan terhadap orang Yahudi, orang Romawi, dan sebagai macamnya.
All examples of normal people in a normal role in their life who were able to do really awful things. There's an experiment called the Milgram experiment. That experiment goes as follows. A person off the street is selected to go into a room.
Sebagai contoh lain bahwa orang normal dapat melakukan kekerasan seperti ini adalah sebuah eksperimen yang dilakukan dengan nama Norgom eksperimen, dengan cara mengambil orang secara acak dari jalanan.
Primary school teacher, students, barista, whatever. They're put in a room with a person with a white coat present. And the person with the white coat always is reassuring them.
Yang mana menculik orang-orang normal seperti guru SD, murid, dan sebagainya macamnya untuk diletakkan di salah satu ruangan di dekat ruangan terpidana tersebut.
The person, the subject, is tasked with administering a shock to another person in the next room. Let me not forget that that person is an actor. Sometimes we do that and that kind of flips the story on its head a little bit, or at least it's awful.
Jadi orang yang ditangkap itu diminta untuk melakukan penyerangan kejut listrik dengan cara menarik seperti tuas atau bagaimananya untuk dikirimkan kepada ruangan sebelahnya. Mungkin aku akan skip.
So the person in the room is asked to administer an electric shock to the other person in the room next to them whenever they get the answer to a question wrong. With each following question that they get wrong, they're asked to increase the voltage of the shock. And all the while, the person in the white coat says, okay, it's fine, it's totally fine. But they can hear the person in the next room screaming because it hurts, banging on the door because they want to be let out, and begging for mercy.
Jadi mereka diminta untuk melakukan itu ketika jawaban dari pertanyaan orang yang di ruangan sebelah dinilai salah oleh sang penguji, dan orang-orang yang melakukan penyetruman ini, orang-orang yang diculik tadi, juga dapat mendengar teriakan dari ruangan sebelah, lalu dapat mendengar suara pintu yang digedor-gedor karena orang ingin merasakan kebebasan, dan juga terkadang dapat mendengarkan suara penderitaan untuk orang yang ingin merasakan ampunan.
2/3 of those people administered what they knew to be lethal shocks to the person in the next room, despite this fact. Normal people.
Orang normal.
It's not a very comfortable thing to think about, that we are all capable of doing these things.
Ini bukanlah sesuatu hal yang sangat menyenangkan untuk kita pikirkan bahwa kita mampu untuk melakukan hal sekejam ini.
It's a kind of staring into the abyss of what you would really do if nobody's looking.
Ini semua terasa seperti ketika kita melihat ke dalam jurang ketika tidak ada orang yang melihat kita sama sekali, dan kita menampakkan wujud asli dari kita.
Or if you're in a room full of people like we are today, and everybody is a part of a torture campaign, or has a very strong opinion about a group of a different ethnicity.
Atau bahkan ini seperti terasa kita ketika di ruangan ini, yang mana semua dari kita memiliki keterikatan sendiri pribadi terhadap suatu organisasi yang memiliki opini kuat terhadap perbedaan etnis.
Are you strong enough to stand up and say, I am not going to participate in this?
Apakah kamu cukup kuat untuk melawan dan mengatakan bahwa aku tidak akan berpartisipasi terhadap hal-hal seperti ini?
The truth is that most of us aren't strong enough to do that, or choose not to be strong enough to do that. We don't. We participate. We go along often.
Faktanya adalah banyak dari kita tidak cukup kuat untuk melawan hal-hal seperti ini, atau bahkan memilih untuk tidak cukup kuat karena kita terbukti berpartisipasi dalam hal-hal seperti ini.
I'm reminded of my grandmother when I talk about this, whenever I talk about this. She is Jewish, and like all European Jews, or most European Jews of her generation, has a history of the war.
Ketika membicarakan hal ini, saya teringat dengan nenek saya yang merupakan seorang Yahudi. Dia Yahudi seperti orang pada ibunya. Dia memiliki ketakutan antar generasi atas perang.
For as long as I known her, which is of course my entire life, she always talks to me about the watershed.
Ya.
What she means is there's a turning point in every situation. And if that situation is very serious, what you choose to do in that turning point can be a matter of life and death, your own or that of somebody else's.
Dia sangat suka membicarakan sesuatu insiden dengan saya, yang mana insiden tersebut adalah sebuah titik balik yang dapat membuat orang menjadi sesuatu yang sangat berbeda, karena hidup atau mati dipertaruhkan di sana. Mungkin bisa jadi hidup dirinya atau bahkan orang lain.
Sadly, her experience was that not many people were left standing after that turning point.
Sayangnya, dari apa yang telah nenekku alami, banyak dari orang tidak dapat bertahan dengan titik balik yang mereka alami.
And she's not alone in that experience. I worked with people from Yugoslavia or Rwanda, where they know all too well that sometimes the person you think you know, or even yourself, you, can turn into something else, something not so pleasant.
Ya, itu sudah lama tidak mengalami hal tersebut. Namun sebagai contoh lain, ada orang yang bekerja sama denganku dari Yugoslavia yang mengatakan bahwa terkadang orang lain yang kamu anggap sebagai sesuatu atau bahkan dirimu adalah sesuatu yang bukan dirimu.
If the situation is there, if the circumstances are right, it's really easy for us to distance ourselves from those people who do those things because we're not in that situation right now.
Jika situasi kita sama seperti mereka, sangat mudah bagi kita untuk mengucapkan bahwa kita tidak akan melakukan hal-hal tersebut karena kita tidak sedang berada di dalam situasi mereka.
And you don't want to think about yourself in that way. I want to say I would never do that. And I think we all do. But the fact is that it is truly difficult for every one of us to resist if we find ourselves in a situation where violence is everywhere.
Jadi sebenarnya itu semua sangat sulit untuk dilakukan, bahkan ketika kita mendapati diri kita sedang menghadapi situasi yang mengharuskan kita untuk melakukan kekerasan.
And that's depressing to think about, isn't it? And it is. But the point is that, yes, we are all capable of violence. But we are also all capable of not committing violence, of resisting, of making a different choice. And I believe, and I hope that's what I've done a little bit here today, is if we all acknowledge everything that we're capable of as human beings, good and evil, then we might just be a little bit more likely to make the choice not to commit violence.
Jadi ketika berada di situasi yang sama, kita sebenarnya mampu untuk melakukan kekerasan seperti itu. Namun kita juga mampu untuk memilih untuk tidak melakukan hal seperti itu. Skip.
Should we, heaven forbid, find ourselves in a situation where it truly matters? Thank you.
Kita seharusnya tidak melarang diri kita untuk membayangkan bahwa kita berada di suatu situasi yang seperti itu. Menurutku itu adalah hal yang perlu dipikirkan. Terima kasih. Right. I think that's all I can do for the interpreting in video just political dialogue. Help to reduce violence in conflict situation by Flo Reverbergen from TED Talks. So, thank you for watching the video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.